Hello friends, today we are going to discuss a topic on international relations, the role of state actors and non-state actors in international relations. It's a very interesting topic. International politics from the post-World War period, from 1945 onwards, are guided, controlled and conducted by state actors and non-state actors. In today's lesson, we'll be knowing about the details of state actors and the details of non-state actors, and what is the relationship between state actors and non-state actors in the international relations. As we all know, the Second World War continued from 1939 to 1945. In the year 1945, the United Nations organization is formed, and many countries of Africa and Asia started getting independence from 1945 onwards. So there is Asia-African resurgence experienced in the second half of 20th century. So Afro-Asian resurgence is particularly mentioned as the independence to many Asian countries and African countries. As a result, there are 193 countries got independence and they became members of the United Nations. Of course, many of the countries got independence in 20th century, and some countries have achieved revolutions in their respective countries. In total, by 1945, the United Nations was formed, and there are certain founding members for United Nations. But by 2019 and 2020, we can say there are 193 countries registered as member states in the United Nations. All these member states are called as state actors. And there are also private individuals, organizations, various civil rights movements, various social movements, multinational corporations, transnational companies, enterprises. They're also doing service for the welfare of the people. So these organizations, NGOs, and movements and various individual persons and personalities who are privately engaged in international politics are called as the non-state actors. So in today's lesson, we'll be discussing about the state actors and non-state actors in international relations. Many states, individuals, and organizations are engaged in international relations. We all know that after the Second World War, many of the Afro-Asian countries started getting independence. This is called as the resurgence of Afro-Asian solidarity movements, nationalist movements. And due to these nationalist movements, the decolonization process is also started. As a result of decolonization process, many countries got independence. With political independence and sovereignty, many states have become nation states and became members of United Nations. So there are 193 member states in United Nations as on 2020. These 193 countries play a very significant role in the international politics. And besides these member states, there are also a good number of individuals and organizations who are also engaged in international politics. So all the states are called as state actors, and others, that means the individuals and organizations who are engaged in international politics, are called as the non-state actors. So in today's lesson, we'll be discussing about the state actors and non-state actors in international politics. One of the oldest and universally acknowledged actor in international politics is the state. States are engaged in international politics from time immemorial, right from civilizational states, Indus Valley state, Egyptian civilizational state, and likewise the Sumerian state, the states were engaged in international relations right from ancient period to modern period, and also in medieval period and modern period. This is how state is considered as one of the oldest and universally acknowledged actor in international politics. States are either directly engaged or indirectly engaged in trade relations, political relations, technology transfer, communication transfer, and transport. So in all these sectors of public life, states are very seriously and dynamically engaged in international politics. So one of the oldest and universally acknowledged actor in international politics is the state. And the actors in international politics promote international relations between the states. As we all know that there are 193 countries in the present day world. So all these 193 countries are interdependent. They do not have self-reliance. They cannot have the self-sufficiency in their economies, in their societies, and in their politics. So all these countries depend on each other. This is called as mutual interdependence. So for mutual interdependence and for the achievement of the national interests of each country, each nation, these actors are engaged in international politics, and they promote international relations mainly among the states, between the states. And there are two types of actors in international relations. One is the state actors, the other one is the non-state actors. As we all know, the state actors are the governments, the political functionaries, the diplomatic personnel who represent the state officially are called as the state actors. And also, of course, there are non-state actors who have a purpose, who have an objective, and who also have their own respective interests, and who also strive for the human welfare. And these organizations and individuals are called as non-state actors. State actors and non-state actors impact on each other in the course of engagement in international politics. So the impact of state actors is very much evident on non-state actors. And likewise, the impact of non-state actors on state actors is also very much evident. So the state actors and non-state actors impact on each other in course of engagement in the international politics. As we all know that there are two types of actors involved in international relations. One is the state actors and the other one is non-state actors. While the lesson proceed by, we'll be knowing about the description of state actors and the description of non-state actors. So, but there are two types of actors in international politics. One is the state actors, the other one is the non-state actors. The state actors and non-state actors impact on each other in course of engagement in international politics. So the impact of state actors is very much evident on non-state actors. And there are also a significant influence of non-state actors on the functioning and styles of engagement by state actors. So this is how both state actors and non-state actors impact on each other in course of engagement in international politics. In the post-World War era, particularly from 1960s and 1970s, the involvement of non-state actors is becoming rapid. In the post-World War era, after the First World War, after the Second World War, the First World War was held between 1914 to 1918, and 1919 and 20 are considered as years of peace with the Treaty of Versailles. And again from 1919 to 1939, this is called as interwar period, which is witnessed by the Great Economic Depression, the rise of Nazism and fascism in the world. And again from 1939 to 1945, there is the Second World War. So the first half of 20th century has witnessed a serious involvement of state actors in international politics. All the states are dynamically involved in international politics. The African states, the Asian states, the American states, the Australian states, European states were very dynamic and very seriously involved in First World War and Second World War. And this trend continued up to 1960s. But from 1960s and 1970s, there is a perceptible change in the nature of international politics. Here we can see the involvement of non-state actors. The non-state actors are the private actors, individuals, organizations, enterprises, various social and political movements or religious movements that have also impacted the state actors. So from 1960s and 1970s onwards, the involvement of non-state actors is becoming very rapid in international relations. This is particularly evident in the post-World War era. From 1945 onwards, the trend started. But from 1960s and 1970s, the involvement is becoming more rapid. The involvement of non-state actors is becoming very rapid. So in the post-World War era, particularly from 1960s and 1970s, the involvement of non-state actors is becoming very rapid. We'll be discussing about the role of state actors and non-state actors. First of all, we must know what are the state actors and what are the non-state actors and what are their features. This is the introduction of the whole topic. So, first of all, we must know what are the actors in world politics or global politics, the state actors and non-state actors, and how they can be defined as state actors, and how the non-state actors are defined, and what are the important state actors and non-state actors. After that, we'll be knowing about their features. What are the common features of state actors and non-state actors in course of their engagement in the global politics. This is the first part of our lesson. And secondly, we'll be knowing in detail about the state actors. What are the state actors? And who are considered to be the state actors, and who are considered to be the non-state actors. And in detail, who could be known as the state actor and who else could be known as a non-state actor. What are the perceptions of the political scientists on state actors, and how the non-state actors operate the international politics. This is how the state actors and non-state actors in detail that we must be knowing. After that, we'll also be knowing about the mutual impact, how the state actors impact the non-state actors, and vice versa, how the non-state actors impact the state actors. So what is the mutual impact between state actors and non-state actors in their engagement in international politics? After that, we'll make a brief critical evaluation of the whole lesson. This is the crux of the lesson. So we'll start about the actors in world politics, state and non-state actors. After that, we'll be discussing about actors and non-state actors, or state actors and non-state actors and their features. After that, we must define who are the state actors and who are the non-state actors. Who could be called as state actors and who else could be called as the non-state actors. And what is the basic difference between state actors and non-state actors. And after that, what is the impact of the state actors on non-state actor and non-state actors on state actor. It's a kind of a mutual impact in international politics that we must be knowing. So this is how, what is the mutual impact of state and non-state actors on each other. That is also a part of our lesson today. After all these points covered, we'll make a critical evaluation of the whole lesson. So to start with, the world politics experienced the engagement of state actors and non-state actors. We are time and again giving the statement that the dynamic engagement of state actors and non-state actors is very evident in the post-war period, particularly after 1945. And after 1960s and 1970s, the engagement of non-state actors is becoming much more rapid. So that's how the world politics experienced the dynamic engagement of state actors and non-state actors in the post-World War period, particularly from 1960s and 1970s. So this is in fact the nature of international politics in the second half of 20th century. What is the distinguishing feature of the international politics of second half of 20th century? That is, the world politics experienced the dynamic engagement of state actors and non-state actors. Particularly, the non-state actors are becoming and emerging more rapidly, and they are influencing the world politics. In fact, the state actors have their influence right from immemorial, time immemorial, right from ancient times, medieval times, and modern times. State actors have their own natural habit of engaging themselves in the world politics. That's their responsibility and that's their obligation. There is nothing new in this. In fact, the Indus Valley civilization, the Chinese civilization, the Greek civilization, the Inca and Aztec civilizations, the Sumerian civilization, the Akkadian civilization. So all these civilizations have their own states, and states are engaged in inter-civilizational dialogue, inter-civilizational commerce and trade, inter-civilizational merchandise, and various other things. And this trend continued in ancient times, medieval times, and modern times. There is nothing new about the state actors. The states themselves acted in world politics, and they have engaged in mutual cooperation and mutual conflict. There is nothing new about this. But what is new in the second half of 20th century is the emergence of non-state actors. The emergence of non-state actors in the second half of 20th century, particularly in the post-World War period, from 1960s and 1970s, the emergence of non-state actors is becoming much more rapid. Now let us see who are the state actors and who are the non-state actors. The state actors include the government, the political functionaries, diplomats, and others who officially represent the state. They are called as the state actors. In fact, the governments act upon the ideals of the state. Government is like a vehicle to carry out the objectives and ideals, noble ideals of the state. So the state represents the government, the government represents the state in all the international fora, like United Nations, World Bank, International Monetary Fund, WTO, World Trade Organization, World Intellectual Property Organization. So these are the global fora. In all the global fora, the state actors represent the government. And on behalf of the government, there are so many political functionaries like the presidents, prime ministers, ministers of state, ministers of state with independent charge, and deputy ministers, ambassadors, diplomats, emissaries, and others who officially represent the state at the global level. They are called as the state actors. In fact, in modern times, every government is headed by a president or a prime minister. And these presidents and prime ministers hold meetings at the international fora and hold consultations with neighboring countries and also various certain important countries of each continent. So these political functionaries, the diplomats, the ambassadors, the emissaries, and others who represent officially the state, they are called as the state actors. Of course, in India, Indian President, Indian Prime Minister, Indian External Affairs Minister, and of course, we also have Minister of State for External Affairs, Deputy Minister for External Affairs, and we also have a service called Indian Foreign Service, IFS, all the officials of IFS, and all ambassadors who are nominated and who are appointed by the President of India into various countries. And the diplomats that come from other countries and represent their countries in India, they are called as the diplomats and ambassadors. So all these political functionaries, diplomats, emissaries, ambassadors, who represent the government and state officially are called as the state actors. And likewise, there are also non-state actors. Who are the non-state actors? The non-state actors include various organizations at the global level, various organizations which include the Amnesty International, the Human Rights Watch, Red Cross, Greenpeace, and also enterprises like multinational corporations, transnational corporations, and also there are certain important individuals, industrialists, merchants, traders, the higher level executive of service organizations. These are various functionaries of certain social movements, human rights movements, religious movements, economic movements. So these are called as the non-state actors. In a way, the non-state actors include the organizations, enterprises, individuals, and various functionaries of different movements are called as the non-state actors. Now let us see what are the important features of state actors and non-state actors. The first and foremost feature of state and non-state actors is organizations, individuals, and government who have capacity to decide purpose and interests. Both the state actors and non-state actors have the capacity to decide their own objectives and interests. They represent the interest. In fact, the state actors represent their national interests, and they also strive hard to achieve their national interests. And for the achievement of national interests, the state and its state actors can go to any length. They compromise, they declare war, they make disagree with some other countries. They engage themselves in cooperation, conflict. That's how there's a purpose, there is an interest behind state actors and non-state actors. Each strive for its own objectives and each strive for its own national interests or individual interests. So the purposes and our interests are the key points to qualify a state actor and a non-state actor. So without any purpose and interest, no organization or no state will function and engage itself in international politics. When a state is engaged in international politics, that must be having a purpose, that must be having its own national interests. Likewise, even the non-state actors also function and engage themselves and involve themselves in international politics for their own purposes, for their own respective purposes and interests. So the purposes and interests that make the state actors and non-state actors to qualify themselves as general actors of international politics and engage themselves in international relations. This is the first important aspect. A second one is the state actors and non-state actors have the capability to mobilize necessary resources to achieve the interests. So, to achieve the national interests or any individual interests or respective interests of non-state actors or the national interests of the state actors, one need to have resources, and these resources may not be adequate with the state or with the non-state. That's why they should have the capability to mobilize necessary resources to achieve the interests. When you have an interest, you need to realize that you need to make an effort for the realization of the interest. So for the achievement of an interest, certain resources are needed. You may need to have economic resources, physical resources, natural resources, human resources. So the capability to mobilize the necessary resources to achieve the interests also makes the state actors and non-state actors. when you have that capability to mobilize necessary resources to achieve your objects, then only you are qualified as a state actor or a non-state actor. This is an important feature. And thirdly, the influence of state to state, influence the state to state relations or the behavior of other non-state actors in global system. There is a global system. In this political system at the global level, there are 193 countries who are also members of the United Nations Organization, UNO. And UNO is very often considered as a world government. So, in such a situation of 193 states, having their own operational jurisdiction in their respective geographical area and territory, every state needs to have relations with other states. That's why the state actors influence the state-to-state relations. They influence the relations of one state to other state. So they have the capability to influence the other states. For example, the Americans have the capability to influence the Indians. The Indians have the capability to influence the Russians. The Russians have the capability to influence the British. The British have the influence to influence the French. So likewise, every state have the capability to influence other states. So in course of the mutual interaction and influences, each state is engaged in cooperation with each other. And as a result of that cooperation, the mutual interdependence emerge. And due to this mutual interdependence, states achieve their national interests. So this is how the state actors and non-state actors influence the state-to-state relations. They influence the state-to-state relations. That's also another important aspect. And they also influence the behavior of non-state actors in the global system. So these are the three important aspects of state and non-state actors. These are the three important features. One is organizations, individuals, and government who have capacity to decide purposes and interests are called as state actors and non-state actors. They need to have a purpose. They need to have an objective. They need to have national interests or individual interests. So the purposes, the objectives, the interests that differentiate the state actor and non-state actor, and that qualify a state to be a state actor, a non-state to be a non-state actor. Secondly, all the state actors and non-state actors need to have the capability to mobilize necessary resources to achieve their interests. State actors may have their own interests, they are called as the national interests. And non-state actors also may have their own respective interests. They may not be national interests, they may be individual interests. So having interests and having make an effort to achieve the interests requires certain necessary resources. These resources may be varied: human resources, natural resources, physical resources, and many other types of resources. So the capability to mobilize the natural resources, the necessary resources to achieve the interests, also make the state actors and non-state actors to be qualified to call them as so. And thirdly, the state actors and non-state actors influence each other, and they also influence the state-to-state relations. As I have told you in the beginning itself, there are 193 states in the present day world who are members of the United Nations. So the state actors and non-state actors influence the relations between the states, relations between the organizations, relations among the people, relations among the tribes, relations among the organizations, relations among the governments, relations among the intergovernmental organizations. Likewise, that's how they have the capacity to influence the state-to-state relations or the behavior of non-state actors at the global system. So this is the third important aspect. Now let us see what are the state actors. The state actors in international relations are the actors who represent the state at the global level are called as the state actors. At the global level, there are certain global organizations like United Nations Organization, UNO, World Trade Organization, WTO, World Bank, International Bank of Reconstruction and Development, IBRD, likewise Asian Development Bank, European Economic Community. So this is how the state actors represent the state at the global level. And the states also make one-to-one cooperation. There might be an agreement between India and America. Indo-American Nuclear Agreement is an example for this. Likewise, Indo-Soviet Mutual Friendship Agreement that was signed in 1971. That's also another important example. So that means the state represents the government represents the state, and it strives hard for the achievement of the objectives and interests, the national interests of the state. So the state actors are those actors who represent the state at the global level. These include the governments. First of all, the governments. There are 193 governments, as many governments as many states. There are 193 states. Likewise, we have 193 governments. So all the governments, maybe civilian governments or military governments, depending on the nature of governance in their respective countries, all the governments represent their states, respective states. And likewise, the state actors in international politics, relations, who represent the state at the global level include the political functionaries of the government. Every state has certain political functionaries, like the president, prime minister, chancellor, viceroy, royal, queen, king, monarch, sultan. So these are the political functionaries who represent the government, who head the government, who become the part of the government, and whoever become the part of the government and represent the state at the global level are called as the state actors. All the political functionaries of government are called as the state actors. And likewise, the administrative officers or the bureaucracy or the political executive who are appointed by the government to represent the state at the global level are also called as the diplomatic personnel. These diplomatic personnel include the ambassadors, diplomats, foreign emissaries. So these people are also called as the state actors. So this is how the state actors include the governments, the political functionaries of government, the diplomatic personnel, and others. So these three types of people, groups are called as the state actors. Now let us see who are the non-state actors. The non-state actors in international relations, the actors who engaged in global politics with a purpose and interest are called as the non-state actors. And the non-state actors may not be official actors, they are unofficial actors, they do not represent the state, they do not represent the government, but they act upon the global politics. So these actors also have a purpose and interest. Now let us see what are the non-state actors in international politics. Number one, intergovernmental organizations. At a global level, we have so many intergovernmental organizations like United Nations Organization, UNO, International Labour Organization, World Intellectual Property Organization, World Bank, Group of Eight, NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Warsaw Pact. So these are called as the intergovernmental organizations, who are also called as the non-state actors. Though they are represented by the government, in a way they are influencing the governments, different governments at a time. That's why they are called as intergovernmental organizations, and hence they are called as the non-state actors. And secondly, non-state actors in international relations include non-governmental organizations, like we have here Red Cross, Greenpeace movement, Red Cross movement, and we have Oxfam, Oxfam is an organization to remove rural poverty in many countries of the world, particularly African countries and Asian countries. That's an international non-governmental organization. And likewise, we have Amnesty International. Amnesty International is an organization that strives for the promotion of human rights in various countries. Likewise, there is one organization called Human Rights Watch that was previously called as Helsinki Watch. So Helsinki Watch, which is also known as the Human Rights Watch, protects the rights of various peoples of various continents. It is the Europe Watch, Asian Watch, African Watch. It has different categories of administration. So on the whole, it represents the human rights of the people. It protects and it strives for the promotion of human rights throughout the world of different sections of people. So non-governmental organizations include the International Red Cross, International Greenpeace, Oxfam, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and there is also another organization called Doctors Sans Frontières. Doctors Sans Frontières. Doctors Sans Frontières is also another important organization, international non-governmental organization. So these organizations have a direct bearing and they have an influence on the dynamics of world politics. And they engage themselves in various activities, service activities in different countries. They influence the government, they make demands with the government, and they also supervise the implementation process of human rights and various safeguards that are assured to the respective countries, the people, by the respective constitutions. And they also strive for a clean environment like Greenpeace movement, eradication of poverty like Oxfam movement, promotion of human rights like Amnesty International, and Red Cross. So this is how, these are the non-governmental organizations who are known as the non-state actors. And their activities also influence the functioning of the state. And their influence also impact the state-to-state relations. The state-to-state relations, the relations among the states are influenced by the activities of these non-governmental organizations. For example, the impact of Greenpeace movement has an impact on India-American relations, Indo-Soviet relations, India-China relations, India-Pakistan relations, India-Australia relations, India-France relations, India-Germany relations. So this is how the non-governmental organizations like Red Cross, Greenpeace, Oxfam, Amnesty International also have a bearing on the state-to-state relations. These are some of the non-governmental organizations. After that, there are multinational corporations. They are called as MNCs. MNCs are called as multinational corporations. And there are multinational enterprises like transnational corporations, multinational corporations. And these multinational corporations and transnational corporations are of three types. One is industrial corporations, second one is financial corporations, and third one is service organizations. In the industrial corporations, we have so many international corporations like Samsung, Colgate. These are some of the industrial organizations, multinational industrial corporations. Likewise, financial corporations there. We have HDFC, we have IDFC, and likewise we have Grendel's Bank. So these are called as the financial corporations. And likewise, there are also service organizations like WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups. So these are service organizations. So on the whole, the multinational corporations and enterprises like MNCs and TNCs, which include the industrial corporations, financial corporations, and service organizations, are called as the non-state actors. The functioning of these corporations impact the state-to-state relations. Some of the industrial corporations, financial corporations, and service corporations have their head offices in developed countries. Samsung may have its own head office in some other country. Colgate may have its head office in USA. Likewise, Facebook may have its headquarters in some other place. But it has its influence and it has its activism in many of the countries of the world. So that's how the industrial organizations, industrial corporations, financial corporations, and service organizations who impact the relations among the states. They have an impact on the relations between two different countries. Samsung has an impact on Indo-Soviet relations. Colgate may have an impact on Indo-US relations. Facebook has an impact on Indo-British relations. So likewise, these multinational corporations, enterprises, transnational corporations, like industrial corporations, financial corporations, and service organizations, they influence the relations among the states. The relations of one state with the other state is influenced by the functioning of these multinational corporations and transnational corporations. So hence, the multinational corporations, enterprises, transnational corporations are also called as the non-state actors. So on the whole, non-state actors are three types. One is the intergovernmental organizations like UNO, ILO, WIPO, World Bank, Group of Eight, NATO. So these are the intergovernmental organizations. They are called as the non-state actors. And likewise, non-governmental organizations at the global level, such as the Red Cross, International Red Cross, Greenpeace Movement, Oxfam, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, or Helsinki Watch, and Doctors Sans Frontiers. So these are some of the non-governmental organizations. They're also called as non-state actors. And likewise, there are multinational corporations, transnational corporations, like international industrial corporation, financial corporations, service organizations, who make an impact on the relations between one state and the other state. And their influence has a direct bearing on the relations among the states. That's why they are called as the non-state actors. Now let us see what is the mutual impact of state actors and non-state actors. Mutual impact in matters of economy, politics, and climate. Non-state actors impact on the economy of the countries, the politics of the countries, and the climate of other countries. That's how the impact of state actors on non-state actors, on non-state actors, on state actors is very much evident on three important sectors. One is economy, second one is politics, and third one is the climate change sector. For example, in the economy, all the non-governmental organizations, particularly the multinational corporations, have an impact on the foreign direct investments, exports and imports, technology transfer between one country and the other country. So this is a non-state actor influencing the state actor. And likewise, the non-state actors also impact the politics of one country or the other, between the one country and the other countries. For example, the elections are influenced by multinational corporations. Multinational corporations may influence the election process in a respective country. And likewise, in some countries, it is only the multinational corporations or non-state actors that decide upon the nature of government, whether to have a republican form of government, or a civilian government, or a military government. That is decided by multinational corporations, and multinational corporations sometimes make effort to overthrow the civilian governments in certain countries, and they may also overthrow some of the military governments and establish a civilian government. They have the capability even to replace the government with some other government. So that's how they have the impact on politics of each country. And likewise, they have a say in climate change. In all the climate change agreements or reduction of greenhouse gases, fluorocarbons, in matters of depletion of ozone layer or the spread of greenhouse gases, carbon emissions. So in all the matters that are related to climate change, the state actors influence the non-state actors and non-state actors influence the state actors. Of course, they have mutually exclusive spheres of activity. The activity of state actors are very official and their sphere of activity is something different. And the activity of non-state actors is also something different. So their sphere of activity is also very different. So they have mutually exclusive spheres of activity. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they are exclusive. The spheres of activity of state actors and non-state actors is mutually exclusive in many a time, many a period. And thirdly, in the context of globalization, it necessitated the existence of non-state actors. With the non-state actors, the relations among the states are redefined and defined. Particularly, the World Trade Organization defines the terms of world trade, and United Nations Organization defines the terms of the prevention of terrorism, prevention of mass destruction armaments, and other things. And likewise, the multinational corporations also decide upon the foreign direct investment patterns in different countries. So globalization process that has started in the late 80s and early 90s throughout the world, in many countries of the world, without exception of any continent, almost in all the continents and almost all countries of the world, experienced the process of globalization. And in the context of globalization, the existence of non-state actors, the importance of non-state actors is very much evident. And non-state actors have an impact on state actors, and state actors have an impact of non-state actors. And state actors and non-state actors also maintain mutual restraint and also mutual control. They control each other and also they restrain each other in their spheres of activity. So this is how there is an impact of state actors and non-state actors. Now let us make a critical evaluation of the whole lesson. First, we have started that there are two types of actors in international politics. One is the state actors and the other one is the non-state actors. And the engagement of state actors and non-state actors is a distinguished feature of international relations in the second part of 20th century and first part of 21st century. And the impact of state actors in international politics is evident right from time immemorial. Right from civilizational times, we can see the impact of the state actors. Right from Indus Valley civilization to Egyptian civilization, Sumerian Akkadian civilization, Inca Aztec civilizations, Greek, Roman, and Chinese civilizations. We have seen the civilizational dialogue, the civilizational relations, trade relations, merchandise, transport system, the relations between different civilizations is very much evident during ancient times. That's why the impact of state actors and the dynamism of state actors in international relations, international politics is very much evident right from time immemorial. But the impact of non-state actors is very much found in the second half of 20th century, particularly in the post-World War period, right from 1945 onwards, at the end of Second World War. There is a rapid growth of non-governmental organizations, and these non-governmental organizations have parallelly influenced the interstate relations, the state-to-state relations. That's how the non-governmental organizations, the intergovernmental organizations, likewise we have the transnational corporations, multinational corporations, different terrorist groups, different human rights groups. They influence the nature, objectives, and national interests of each state. This is how there is an impact of non-state actors on state actors and state actors on non-state actors. So this mutual impact is very much evident in 21st century. And in spite of having the influence and impact on each other, both state actors and non-state actors have mutually exclusive spheres of activity. That means all the state actors have an activity of with official legitimacy, official proof, official witness, official jurisdiction. The state actors function. At non-state actors function privately, and also they impact the state actors and non-state actors. So this is how there is a lot of impact between state actors and non-state actors, though their spheres of activity is exclusive to each other. This is all about the relations and the impact of state actors and non-state actors in international politics. So international politics in 20th century, the second half of 20th century, and first 2 decades, first 2.5 decades of the first 2 decades of 21st century are marked by the emergence of more and more non-state actors and making impact on state-to-state relations in international politics. That's how the state actors and non-state actors influence and impact each other in international politics. This is called as international relations. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much.